Hey guys, welcome to the podcast and welcome my guest Alex Palumbo. Alex, welcome. How you doing, my friend?
Yeah, hi Tom. I'm fine, thanks. How about you?
I'm
So,
awesome. I'm awesome. So
great.
guys, Alex and I met through, geez, I think just through LinkedIn, really. We kind of met and we're going back and forth and he had this really good idea. Um, but before we get into that, Alex, why don't you do an introduction? Tell everybody who you are, where you're from, all that good stuff.
Yeah, no problem. My name is Alex Palumbo. I'm a Medical Science Liaison Manager at AstraZeneca here in Germany. And yeah, I had this idea to talk with you about a specific topic that concerns probably many MSLs. And that's actually it. So I want to disclose that all the views, statements, and opinions I'm sharing on this episode are my own, not of my former current employers. Although I don't think that actually that might play a huge role with this topic.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, we're going to talk about how to be healthy on the road and how to avoid MSL belly, which is a term I never really heard of before, but Alex kind of introduced me to that. So, we're going to get into that. Before we do, this episode is sponsored by Fierce Pharma Week. Our friends at Fierce Pharma are doing it again. They're coming up with another awesome event. This is a conference that it used to be Mass East, and now it's a much bigger event. It's in Philly. September 8th through the 11th. So go to Fierce Pharma Week online, go to Google and just type in Fierce Pharma Week. It'll take you to the registration page. You'll find out all the information. It's not just a medical affairs conference. Medical affairs is a part of it, but there's also there's PR and communications, business development and licensing, and pharma marketing. So there's four different tracks. San Diego Fierce Pharma Engage was awesome. This is going to be the Eastern version of that. So check that out, and hopefully I'll see you there because I'll definitely be there. So, Alex, let's just jump right into it. You came up with this term. You told me about MSL belly. Can we start there? Like, what is that a real thing? What even is that?
Well, it kind of is and it kind of isn't. The MSL belly is actually something that I call, which applies more a sedentary lifestyle for work. So you can actually put every job in front of the word belly, whether it's a sales belly or maybe an insurance belly. It's about that people have a sedentary lifestyle during work, don't move a lot. And the term MSL belly is something that I also actually picked up on with my colleagues on the field because many of us have been PhDs in the past, so we were running around in labs and we were all skinny and fit. But then starting as an MSL, you sit in the car the whole day almost, and then yeah, you don't exercise, you eat a lot of stuff, and then you get the MSL belly, and that's the point.
Well, so how common is this? Is this like a common thing? Is it like one of those things where, someone becomes an MSL and then all of a sudden, because of the lifestyle, they may develop unhealthy habits, or maybe there's the challenges of travel. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I have no statistics about it, but generally speaking, when I talk with friends or colleagues of mine who have been MSLs for a couple of years, I almost always hear this phenomenon that by being an MSL, they just gain weight, unfortunately, because with traveling and appointments that you have with the physicians, it's kind of hard to really stick to a rigorous diet or even keep up with your exercise. In my case, actually it turned out the other way around. I will talk about that, I think, a little bit later, how you can fight the MSL belly. But it's a phenomenon that you hear quite often about people when they're talking about this.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. We've talked about the challenges of um, the of how to survive on the road because it's not easy. There's a lot of elements to it. So let me ask you this. What's the first thing or first piece of advice you might give someone in helping them prepare for whether it's a new MSL or somebody that's been doing this for a while, on what's kind of worked for you and what's helped you?
So actually, what one type of advice is really being mindful. So really look at yourself, look at your environment. And always also consider how things may change with the job that you take for granted at some point, right? Because you think you have to wake up pretty early to catch a flight or to go to a customer, so you don't do breakfast that well or whatever it is. And I think self-awareness is really the first step at all.
Yeah. Um, so self-awareness and understanding, right? Like kind of what your own maybe health goals are, right? Whether it's fitness, health. I kind of almost feel like this should start with diet because I always think that that's probably the toughest thing in food choices, your healthy eating habits and
Yeah.
how you can maintain that in the life of an MSL. So what's worked for you as it relates to diet and consistency and being because you guys are in and out of airports, like food choices, like talk about that and what's worked for you.
Yeah. Actually, that's the harsh reality that you face as an MSL. Once you're out there, to be honest, you don't have a lot of healthy food options. It starts really with that. At some point, you want to make the change because you're self-aware and you decide to do so. But then you're like, well, if I'm at the airport or I'm at the hotel, you have all these sugary things or also some fast food, ultra processed foods. And eating really healthy is something that you rarely find on the road, to be honest. And if you do, it costs a lot of money. So something that worked out for me, to be honest, is meal prepping. Really
Mm,
prepare your meal, prepare when you wanna schedule your appointment with physicians so that you don't rush into an appointment without having eaten before, and then after that you're craving so much food that you just bulge in everything that
hmm
gets in your way. So really be mindful about because that's actually the great part about being an MSL, right? You are flexible. You can schedule the appointments as you wish in the first place. Then sure, your clients and physicians have to agree to that. But that gives you the flexibility to do your meal prep and also do your exercise. And yeah, so I think it's more about a systemic issue that we're talking here in the environment that you can't get rid of, to be honest, with the unhealthy food options out there. But you can do it by starting cooking at home, which is cheap, healthier, and also it's much more fun and gives you a better understanding of food itself again.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. I'm a big meal prepper and planner. I think the key to this whole entire equation when it comes to at least the food aspect of this is preparation and planning. I bring food with me every day. So every day when I come to work, all my meals are prepped in advance. So rarely do I go out and unless I'm with someone, do I go out and grab lunch or dinner or whatever. And then when I travel, I prepare what I'm going to eat depending on the airport. So I fly out of Newark and I know what options they have. So if I want to grab a healthy wrap or something on the way out, I know where all that stuff is, and I bring bars, like protein bars, because I try
Yeah,
to eat a lot of protein every day. I get like 200 grams of protein in a day, which isn't easy to do, especially when you travel. So I'm a big advocate of protein bars, sometimes even protein shakes, like when you're in the airport and you just need to get like 20, 25 grams of protein.
yeah.
That's that I think is probably the best hack for staying on track because if you're not planning it out, you're going to grab the most convenient thing that's in front of you, and it's usually not healthy. Do you agree?
Yeah, I totally agree. That's what I meant, like with plan also your appointments with physicians, because if you're just in a rush and after that you get that glucose drop, and then you just get this food craving, it really disrupts everything that you work for, basically. And also what I want to really specify is that meal prepping doesn't have to be something that takes a long time, one day or 2, 3 days before, right? So you can even do or bring with you fresh food. So depending on what diet you're going to do or also, your health balance in your body, how you consume energy. Sometimes, for example, in my case, it's also enough to just bring two eggs and a banana for lunch,
Hmm.
and I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm concentrated. I have energy. It's right perfect that then after having the appointments around noon, these are often, I think, favorable times for physicians. Then you go out in the afternoon and you eat your regular lunch at this point, and then you don't have any cravings. You are still mindful about your body, and you had the energy to focus and concentrate during the conversations that you had.
Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, that's perfect. That's actually a really good hack. Couple of hard-boiled eggs, a banana, that's small, portable, healthy, and it fills you up. Eggs fill you up.
Actually, you're
Um,
up, yeah.
yeah, great way to get in, some quick nutrition.
And it gives you still flexibility if you have spontaneous
Yeah.
lunch or also dinner plans with HCPs or in general. It gives you the spontaneity to do so without having some guilt, on your shoulders.
Yeah, for sure. Let me tell you where I screw up when I travel, um, is staying hydrated. And a couple reasons. Number one, if you're on a flight, you should you should drink enough water to stay hydrated. But at the same time, you don't want to get up every every 20 minutes to use the bathroom because it's a pain, right?
Yeah.
So, but that's an important piece of it because when you fly, it just seems like you just get dehydrated just naturally. So talk about the importance of hydration. What do you do?
Um, I think there are two ways of looking at it. So there is this theory. I don't know actually the basic science behind this, but as far as I know, the body tells you when to drink, so you don't
Yep.
have to force it down. But what I usually do is because also that I'm someone who wakes up really early in the morning and works out. So the first thing that I do is like really drinking a whole bottle of water within the first 2 hours after waking up so that your blood gets a little bit diluted, your system wakes up. So for the flight, actually, what I do is also something because often you have these TSA passings, so you
Yep.
can't bring any water behind that. You have to buy it afterwards. So what I would recommend to do is just before that, drink a lot, then you don't have to buy highly expensive water in the duty free for I don't know how much money they charge you for that, which is also something that you want to consider. And depending on the length of your flight, well, at some point you have to drink again, right? Because
Hmm.
the mind needs some water, and you need to focus also because I you also use the travel time to prepare my talks, to prepare the meetings, or also to reflect on something that happened before. So, and for that, you need energy and being hydrated.
Yep. Yeah, my wife brings a water bottle with her because they have those refilling stations in all the
Yeah,
airports where you could just, it's like a water
I never
fountain
did
or a
that.
water refilling thing. And
Yeah,
it's just, I think because more so, not just because water's like $70,000 a bottle nowadays, it's like so
yeah,
expensive and it just like kills your budget, but it's also being able to keep track of how much you're drinking. So,
yeah.
I think that's pretty good hack, pretty good habit. Let's talk about working out. Um, I'm pretty meticulous with my workouts and being consistent with my workouts. I don't like to miss. And I rarely do. I usually incorporate something into my schedule, but it's hard when you travel. So give
Definitely,
me some
definitely.
hacks, man. What are you seeing?
I have three basic rules actually
Okay.
that I stick to. The first one is the easiest one. So whatever your training regimen is, whatever you're working out, whether you're someone who likes running or going to the gym and hit the weights, I have the rule: if I miss one session, I'm allowed to miss maybe also another one, but latest, no excuses. On the third day, I'm in the gym, I'm working out.
Okay.
Because it can happen with congresses, in the morning
Yep.
you meet with colleagues or you talk with someone at breakfast and you just don't have time. But there's no way I'm skipping that third day. So this is the easiest one to remember. Um, and in general, when you're working out, there's a way how to look at working out, at exercise in general. So either you working out because you want to become better at something, stronger, faster, whatever. So you just have to be disciplined at some point. Or, and I think this is the second trick that I have, also for someone else or for yourself to just not put that much pressure on you. Just see working out as something that your body just needs, as breathing and eating. So our bodies are done to move. There's no way that the human body is created for staying at one place the whole time. So even in the morning, just go for a light run, stretch a little bit, feel the environment, also go out in nature. I think that makes a huge difference with natural sunlight in the morning or even in the winter if it's dark, but it's better than maybe the light that you have in the gym because it's maybe also too bright for your system. And the third thing actually is something that I also consider after the workout. So consider your schedule after your workout in a sense of don't go to the gym or go running with the feeling of, oh, I have to do it now in 20 minutes because after that I have a meeting. Because even though you do it, you feel even more stressed because you worked out in a stressed way. So just always see exercise as something that's supposed to be relaxing. Yeah, the
Mm.
exercise itself, it's stressing and it's hard and you're tired after that, but it's not something that should be a mental burden on you. And I think this helps you really to stay more balanced over the day.
Yeah. Well, I'll add to that too. One of the things that helps me when I travel is understanding the availability of a good gym
Oh, definitely.
when I
Yeah.
travel. So for example, I always stay at the same hotels. And I
Oh, I
find
do.
hotels that have a gym and make sure I know what equipment's in there, get an understanding of when the gym, because I like to get up super early, get my workout in before the day. That way it's finished. So for me, it's where am I staying? What does the gym look like? And when does it open? And
Definitely.
I mean that's a huge hack right there because you're factoring it into the trip.
Yeah, I mean, I actually had one hotel chain changing their working hours for the gym because
Yep.
sometimes depending where the gym is located in a hotel, for example, if it's on the first floor and you have some rooms underneath, they don't open the gym before 7 in the morning, which is for
Mm,
me way too late.
too late.
And then I asked him, is there no way to to open it earlier? Otherwise, I have to go someplace else.
Yep.
And they luckily changed it. I don't know whether it's for me or because in general people were calling that.
Yeah.
But I also told them like otherwise I have to stay at a different place. And also the problem with the gyms at hotel often is they call it on. So looking it up online is not enough. That's what I
I
want to
know.
try to tell everyone because they say, oh, we have a gym and then it's just a treadmill and maybe just a gymnastic ball and that's it. So really take up the phone, call them,
Yep.
or if you look online, yeah, try to find some pictures of the gym so you get an idea. Because what you also can do, and that's what I have figured out, at least here in Germany, but I think something like this should also exist in the States. There are apps where you can subscribe to, and these apps allow you to go to different gym chains in different
Oh,
cities. Yeah. And this was really a game changer for me because now it doesn't matter where I am in Germany, in which city, I know there will be a couple of gym chains that I'm allowed to use by being a member of this app. And I always have a great gym. And so I don't even rely that much anymore on hotel gyms because also hotel gyms, depending on the location, whether it's a big city or more in a small town, they are not that great, right? But a gym is always a gym. So this
that's
is something I can recommend people to look up to these kind of
awesome.
apps.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I don't know if we have that in the US, but I'm sure if you have it where you are in Germany, I'm sure if there's like a European app for that sort of thing, there's got to be one in the
Oh, definitely.
US, I imagine. That's great. I think it's a great hack. Here's one of the challenges, the other challenges I face is sleep. When you travel and you have meetings, and then there's a social aspect to the travel, whether it's a conference or whether you're going to client meetings or whatever, and now you're staying up later and you still have to get up super early and work out. So how do you manage sleep while you're traveling?
Well, I'm just returning from congresses, and so I wake up really early, but I also go to sleep really early. And I know that sometimes these kind of words don't say a lot to people, so I'm really giving you enough time so people have an imagination. So I go to sleep at 9 in the evening,
Okay.
So for some people, this is like, whoa, okay, I think I did this last time I was maybe 10 or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually do. I go to sleep at 9 because I think I don't miss out anything in the evening. There's nothing much to be done, so I rather sleep and I wake up between 5 and 6 you
Yeah.
know and so doing this now during congresses or when you're on the road and you have especially dinners with your colleagues and physicians in general, or you have events, that's rough. To be honest, that's rough. But what I really do is I'm extremely transparent and open about it. So if I'm tired, I excuse myself. I explain the situation because I say like, well, next day I have to attend some talks, or I have meetings with other colleagues, and I want to be focused. So I can't stay here until 1. And yeah, I mean that's the problem with socializing, right? Depending who you encounter, they may see it differently. But I think as long as you're open and honest about it, it is who you are. And at the end of the day, the role of sleep for the body is really something that you shouldn't take for granted. It makes a lot with the recovery of your system, and not only for exercise, but also for your nervous system. It clears up everything that you have felt during the day. And I think everyone having a bad sleep at some point in his or her life realized, yeah, how they felt in the next day. So I really stick to it personally, and I
Yeah.
really recommend everyone to do that.
Well, I think that's the challenge when you travel, depending on what type of, travel you're doing, what kind of meeting, what kind of conference, if it's internal meetings, if it's KOL meetings, because the social aspect creates there's this obligation that you feel
Yeah.
socially, which could interfere with sleep, could interfere with your diet, could interfere with your exercise. Like the social aspect becomes another factor in the challenge of staying healthy. You said you have to be transparent and you have to, just explain to people. It's not always easy to do because in social situations, you don't want to not insult, but you don't want to
Yeah.
upset the wrong people. So talk about how you're able to stay healthy and continue a healthy lifestyle, but also be social and not offend anyone.
Well, I have actually a trick, and I think it's something that we people don't do that often. Is I already start conversations about this.
Okay.
So often when I socialize with people, one of the main topics is weather, right? But it can also be food. It can be what you eat, what's your background, your cultural background, and so on. And you immediately go into topics like health, and healthy lifestyle. And then all of a sudden, you're already halfway there to make the jump of, oh, you know what? It's getting kind of late, and as we discussed earlier, and then you get a better understanding about it. And I think also it depends. I agree with you. You don't want to upset people by just saying, "Oh, you know what, goodbye," and you just disrupt any conversation. So it starts also how they perceive you, on the other side. So be sociable in the beginning. show that they also care about them. So you are part of the conversations, so that when you have to excuse yourself to go to sleep or whatever you're doing the next following that event or whatever you're doing there, is that you don't left the impression of, oh, this guy actually never talked all evening and now he's leaving early. That's kind of rude, right? But at least when you're interacted with people the whole time, they're like, okay, well, he was fun, she was fun, talked a lot, we had a great time, and yeah, sure, it's late, and now I can understand that. So
Yeah.
you get to have a different perception.
Yeah, I think people will understand. I do. Especially in this day and age. And what about like what mistakes do you see MSLs make? And we talked about obviously there's choices, right? You have to make
Mm.
these are not just habits, they're also choices. Um, but there's got to be some consistent mistakes that you see MSLs making, whether it's on the road
Yeah.
or just with their lifestyle in how they're trying to be healthy but are failing.
I think the mistakes that come into your way are have two origins. I think the one is self-inflicted in the
Okay.
sense that you want to be great, right? You want to make a great impression. You want to be that great MSLs that physicians really want to talk to the whole evening, and you want to share whatever you know and be sociable. And then I think being that or wanting to be that hard, yeah, you just forget maybe what is really important, because if you're doing this for, I mean, a really long time, at some point you get used to it, and you have a really unhealthy lifestyle, and that's when the MSL belly comes, and that's when the point is, oh wait, look, now I have this belly, I gained 20 pounds, 30 pounds, and that's actually already too late. And then when you have another experience where you don't have that environment, then you realize, oh, okay, that was really unhealthy now all the way, but that's already too late. I think the other mistake is also externally, in the sense of how your boss treats you, your colleagues, what is the philosophy of the company. Do you feel the pressure from outside to push it that hard that you can't even take care of your own health or not? And again, being mindful is not about only about yourself. It's also about the environment. So if there is this, nowadays it's always called toxic work environment, but if you have that kind of feeling, maybe you should always think about it. I also say to people, colleagues of mine who are field personnel, I tell them like, dude, maybe that's not the right job for you. Let's be honest. Yeah,
Mm.
you enjoyed maybe you to socialize with people, to talk about science, and you have all aspects of life, right? But maybe it's just not the right thing for your health, and maybe you should reconsider that. And I think this is really a hard part, right? Because you work so hard to become an MSL at some point, and then seeing that it subsumes into this kind of complex system, it's hard to take this view, to be honest, but I hope that no one really is feeling that way on his job.
Yeah. Yeah, hope not. So last question, let's leave with what's like one healthy tip or a piece of advice or healthy hack that you can offer to MSLs out there that's helped you that maybe can help them.
It's a stupid one, to be honest. It's a stupid one. It's something that I did already for many years on purpose,
Okay.
but it is really buying clothes that are a little bit too tight.
Okay.
Like really, so maybe not the ones that you're wearing when you have your KOL or in general meetings with your colleagues, right? Because you don't want to look funny, but maybe in private a little bit, because that shows you every day that have a little bit too much weight on you, and so that's kind of maybe the kind of motivation to get rid of it. It really helped me. I'm honest. So maybe the suits that I had, or maybe really tight jeans, it's like, oh man, I really have to get into these. And it helped me really physically, no, because I think it's one thing to feel your body, but I think it's something else also to see your body. And if we are always running around privately in sweats, which is comfortable, but you always have the impression, oh, well, I feel comfortable, it's fine, you know? But if you're wearing something that's a little bit too tight, it disturbs you all day. Trust me. You're like, oh man, this is really too tight, too uncomfortable, this t-shirt or these pants. And then at some point you really have the motivation, I think, to get rid of the MSL body. At least that helped me. Did you have any tip on that? What helped you?
Yeah, well, I could tell you, and that's it's not that. I definitely you caught me by surprise on that one because now look, in all fairness, I think we all have certain clothes that are go-to clothes for certain occasions, certain events, or we feel a certain way. But having clothes that are a little bit tighter to keep us from maybe eating too much because we don't want to feel uncomfortable in those clothes. I think it's kind of genius. I think that's actually pretty brilliant. I've never really thought of that before. For I think for me, again, this is I already kind of said this, but it's the planning and the
Okay.
preparation more than anything else. The only way that I'm truly able to stay healthy is to prepare in advance. If you don't pack workout clothes with you, you're not going to work
Oh,
out, right?
no,
So
I
that's
agree
part of the
with that.
planning. I mean, I mentioned before about bringing protein bars and meal prep and knowing what airports you're going to get certain foods. But the other thing is if you're a runner and you want to run while you're on a trip, but you don't bring your running shoes, you're not going for a run.
No, definitely not. I agree with you. Yeah,
You know?
definitely.
So I think that's an important piece of it. The other thing that I will say that has helped me is there are some days where I may not get the caliber of workout that I normally would get or that I would want to get just because of time, meetings, schedule, more
Yeah.
so than anything else. So what I try to do is I try to factor in time to walk. So if there's a way, if I have, if I can, if you're at a conference, it's actually easy. You just because there are there's space you get to just say, I'm going to take a walk, or I'm going to go to this booth, or I'm going to go here, or whatever. That helps because you're adding steps.
I have there another hack. I had this rule now for many years. So whenever you have to go up, you take the stairs. And whenever
There you go.
you have to go down, then you can use an escalator or an elevator.
Yep.
But at least when you go up, which is more exhausting, you use the stairs. There's no questions. And at least there you have a little bit more muscle strength that you're training, right? A little bit more movement, endurance training. So that was also one of my points. I always try also to get the longer way. So I was on a congress and I wanted to get to a specific hall for a talk. And sure, I could follow the mass that is going to that hall, but I was making a challenge. Like, oh, you know what? I get the other way, which is longer, and you know what? I want to be faster than anyone else. And that's
Hmm.
also what I'm not doing is on the airport. Don't use. You can make actually a game of it. That's what I'm doing. It's a little bit weird, but you have these I don't know how they're actually called. These walking line, these metallic things where you can walk on, which speeds you up. I don't
Yep.
know the exact
Yeah.
word for that, to be honest. But instead of using those, and also people mostly use them to take a ride. They don't even go faster. They just stand there and wait to get transported, right? Go next to them and try to be faster than everyone else by walking. So, and I think these are little things that exhaust you a little bit here and there. You know, you make the extra steps and you get out of breath a little bit depending on your fitness, especially if you have your luggage with you. These are the small things because then again, once you're on a flight, you're there maybe for 3, 4 hours. You're just sitting there. You're not doing anything. So
Right.
at least get something uncomfortable a little bit before.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. That's an interesting challenge yourself a little bit. That's an interesting tip. Alex, thank you, brother. This was
Yeah.
fun. I love talking about health and fitness and diet and all that stuff. I'm a big advocate, so I hope this helped a lot of people. And thanks again for coming on and joining me.
Yeah, thank you very much for the invitation, Tom. I hope everyone is staying focused and healthy as an MSL, and don't be afraid to share your views with colleagues, because I think this is the way to increase the awareness and ensure that we don't get the MSL belly
Don't get the
all.
MSL belly, man. Fight the belly. Thank you guys, as
Exactly.
always, for joining. And yeah, man, share this show if you got some value from it. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.